Lichéesh satini Johan Lichéesh tsahati adi ach tu lichéewuch in chasati Cajun yagi yagi ach tu lichéedat Diego gang chadu de chwelch. Hi everybody, welcome back. It's good to see you. Thank you for coming again. I am happy that we're together and it's Friday today. I'm glad about it. A little bit tired, but excited to see you all. So let's get started. Today is week 4 of our class, Friday, February 3rd, and we have a pretty fun day ahead. So after class last week, I had a student ask some questions about the personal project. And so I want to start off today just following up with that, answering some questions. Our goal as a group for this class is to have a personal project to work on through our spring term. And it's been pretty open-ended the way I've been presenting it to you. And that's actually how I want it to be. But I do want to share a little more guidance today for folks that have the time and want to work on their personal project outside of class, since we only meet for 1 hour every week. I want you guys to keep working on your studies. So I'll give you more ideas today. We'll have a discussion about it, and we'll just make that happen. And then we'll work on the Beginning Lingít Workbook, picking up where we left off last term. And if we have time, we'll have some more video study. Before we jump in that, did anyone happen to take a look at that video study project we worked on with the transcription and continue with it at all? No pressure, no. I'm just making sure I'm not missing anybody if they were like, I finished it. Because as you start your personal projects, we will make time in the beginning of class to review your work as well. And Lichéesh will come in every once in a while and help mentor us too. Excuse me. So about the personal project, I recommend you work on a personal project outside of class as you're able. This isn't meant to stress you out. It's just to help you connect your personal interests and your language learning goals with the things that you like to do. So even if you're just spending 15 minutes on a morning on a Monday, or 30 minutes in an afternoon when you have time, that's okay. I'm not going to make parameters for this project. I'm not going to make it, if you're writing, I'm not going to make it a certain length. If you're making a photo journal, I'm not going to require a lot. What I'll share with you is suggestions. So the goal of the personal project. So for example, I want you to connect your personal interests and learning goals. So for example, if I am in this class and I'm going, well, I want to practice using whole sentences. That's one of my goals. And I also want to work on my speaking. I'm interested in plants and harvesting, and I like taking photographs. Then a suggestion I might have for you is make a photo journal of your outings. If you're out harvesting once spring comes around and the plants start to bud, and you're out on hikes and you like taking photos anyway, take them. And then you can put them on a Google Drive or another shareable format that we can look at as a class, or you can email to me, and we can work on captioning them. So I'll take you through suggestions on how to do that. I have pretty specific recommendations if you are entering your realm of I'm expressing myself in Lingít. I do have recommendations for beginning to go about that. And yeah, use the dictionary to look up plant names, find relevant phrases in the phrase book. And then, of course, you also, if you're writing, you also want to practice your pronunciation so that you're able to read them. Any questions so far? I know this is still pretty vague. We'll get more specific. So I'm going to take you through an example. I know I've shown you briefly some of my photo journals, but let me show you how I did my first show and tell. So this is basically my recommendation. When you do begin to express yourself, say that for your project, you want to do a show and tell where you talk about something in class and show it to us, or you want to make a photo journal or express yourself. I do recommend going with sentences and phrases that are already composed. And Lichéesh is an excellent resource for that because it's a phrase book. It's a great starting point for you to begin finding your voice in the language because you can trust that the phrases are provided by fluent elders and they're appropriate for the context, they're conjugated correctly. Whereas if you try to start off by going into the online verb database, this isn't really the intention for this resource where you're looking up a verb root and then trying to fit it to your meaning. You can, if you see a whole phrase that you like that applies to your photo, you can just directly copy it. When you isolate one word, such as the verb, it takes a little bit of artistry putting it together with the other words in your sentence. And so that's why if you're a very beginner for expressing yourself, I do recommend taking one from Lichéesh. So one of my very first assignments in beginning was to do a show and tell. And I think I had a jar of fish that I wanted to talk about. And so I went to my favorite chapter, which is cooking, eating, and talking about food. And that one starts on page 31. And again, you can see all kinds of different topics here depending on your personal interests or, Valentine's Day is coming up. Maybe you want to make something about dating and schmoozing. We have a chapter for that. Reporting the news, kinship. So talking about your family, your feelings. I just really love this phrase book because it's just like really accessible. So anyway, we're going to jump to cooking, eating, talking about food, page 31. And I'll just show you how I went about it for my assignment. I'll zoom in. I know it might be kind of small. Okay, so my assignment was to pick 3 or 4 sentences to share with the class about my topic, which in my case was a jar of fish. So now I'm just looking through this chapter and finding things that might apply and putting them in an order that makes general sense for conversation or presentation. So I think I started with I'm hungry. You can expand it. I'm hungry for pilot bread. So now in this phrase, they're adding, I'm hungry for. And this is where you can start to get creative if you want to replace pilot bread with fish or moose meat or berries. You can, all you need is to know which part means pilot bread. And so, for example, if we're looking at I'm hungry for pilot bread, and it says I might go in the dictionary and be like, okay, let me see if I can find pilot bread or crackers. And open it up. Let me see if it's in the dictionary. So, pilot bread. Tóoch. Okay, so there's an entry here. It's actually under the entry for fungus. And as I mentioned, so when you're using the online dictionary, open up your search bar and type in what you're looking for and scroll through the different appearances. So I just typed in pilot so far, and I have 3 appearances. So I'm going to look through all of them and kind of look at, oh, okay, got. We saw this in our phrase right here, got. So I'm starting to put together that, okay, I think got might be pilot bread, but I'm going to keep reading. So this is kind of cool. I didn't actually know this. Got is actually fungus. But now it means pilot bread or cracker. I do hear got used for cracker. Huh. So my point with that is if we have a sentence like got and we know it means I'm hungry for pilot bread, we can swap out got with a different food. So let's do that on our slide. Let's do it down here. So example sentence. Got eat uaha. And then we have I'm hungry for pilot bread. We can swap out got with something else. And this is actually a great way to start putting sentences together. Sorry. Swapping out a noun in a completed phrase is an excellent way to kind of make it your own, especially when you're just starting out. So, are there any questions about that? Pretty straightforward. That's what I do recommend, as opposed to trying to swap out the verb, because as we mentioned, verbs are pretty specific to the context of their meaning. And so it might take a little bit more switching around, but I do recommend swapping out nouns. So I think for mine, I said nayadi. I'm hungry for nayadi, so I changed mine to nayadi echiduaha. So let's go ahead and say this one. Since we're in here, let's get you speaking. So let's start with just I'm hungry. And so you have an underlined X here, which is a nice gravelly sound. You have a high tone double E, so it's going to sound E. And then yan uaha. So everyone repeat after me this whole phrase. Eat yan uaha.
Yan uaha.
Yeah, one more time. Eat yan uaha.
Uaha.
Yeah, I like that. Your tones and your vowel length sound good. Let's ask a singular person. So these P and S in brackets mean plural and singular, and it matters when you're asking a group of people or one person. So let's ask singular, are you hungry? Iitge yan uaha.
Iitge yan uaha.
Iitge yan uaha.
And then you could answer Yeah, you can answer yes, I'm hungry. So repeat after me. Achitian uaha.
Itian uaha.
Yeah, excellent. So we have a lot about we're hungry, we're full, I'm hungry for this, I'm hungry for that. If you keep looking through this chapter, you can find I'm thirsty. So this one, let's do this one. Repeat after me. Chat shawa kuch.
Shawa cook.
And then let's do, what are you thirsty for? Da sawa shawa kuch. Yeah. And then I'm thirsty for juice. At kahini yach chat shawa kuch.
Kahini yachat shawa cook.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I like that I can hear when you guys are reading, I can hear the difference between your underline X and your regular X. So that's good. Yeah, cooking. This is one that I always included in my photo journals. I'm cooking because I'm always cooking. Always cooking something. So you can see how looking in one chapter, there's a variety of things you can include. So some of you might be starting to think about, oh yeah, I can see my dinner, I can see myself taking pictures and making captions and keep them really short. And so I just had a request in the chat to show my photo journals, and I'll just go ahead and do that right now. Actually, I think I have it in. I think I have it in my, oops, wrong one. I can't remember what class we did that. Let's see. It's probably week 2 or week 1. There were a couple I wanted to share just to give you kind of a visual of how you can do it. Yeah, must have been week 1. Oh, here they are. They're in this slide. Okay, so spring and summer photo journals that I've done. Let's look at spring. So this is a spring journal I made. I use Google Slides. You could use PowerPoint, but I do recommend this kind of slide format because if you want to share it in class, it just makes it really shareable and easily viewed. So I did my Think It journal. This down here, Tóoch means spring 2021. I put Tóoch Dísi for the month of January. And then I just started taking pictures. I like to take photos when I'm out on walks. One thing I would recommend changing is instead of using this all caps font, I would recommend changing it to like Andica Basic or something that's a little more readable. So well, I'll do that later, but so and when I did this, I'm repeating phrases that I heard before. So like in class, I heard or something like that. Like I heard that this used this way. So I replaced it with whose land I was on, which was Dena'ina land in Anchorage. And then I put the English translation smaller and below it. I moved from there. So this is a screenshot I had taken when I took the ferry in the dead of winter from Whittier to Juneau in like 20-foot seas. I took this screenshot on my phone being like, oh my gosh, we still have so long to go. So anyway, I used that photo to illustrate my move. And like I said, I try to keep them really simple and straightforward. I don't try to make like a complex sentence with multiple ideas strung together and subordinative clauses. You will get to that point, but I recommend when you're starting out, just make it very like one thought, one idea. This one I didn't have. This one I didn't have a photo. And actually, at this time, I'll share my disclaimer. This was a sentence where I am trying. Like, so when you express yourself, if you take something directly from Shingatsa, like if you take something directly from a phrase book like that, you know it's correct. That's kind of like in your comfort zone. And when you're looking up verbs to try to use them and then putting them with nouns, being like, is this how you use that? I would call that a reach in my personal expression. So your journal might have a variety, like a mix, phrases that I've heard before, I'm applying them to myself, and then phrases that are a reach for me. And so I'd add the disclaimer that, this, like, I might even put it in my like on the slide, this is a reach. Or needs review. Or I might just say, help me. Because then I would present these in class and I could get feedback that way. And then, at this point in my learning in spring of 2021, I was really interested in using place names. So I kind of experimented with using Danaina words for the things I saw, looking up actual place names in Danaina language for Danaina land. So this was like when I had moved from Anchorage back to Juneau. And so I said Danaina the I put it in brackets. I saw the little mountain sleeping lady. This one was fun for me because I had just learned in class the phrase for getting the vaccine. And this was like February 2021. So now we got the shot. Yeah, I was experimenting with like phrases I had learned in class that I wanted to apply to myself. This is kind of a more complex meaning. I will return in 4 days. So I'm still not super. Oh, here's the font. You can change the font. So I would change the font instead of using this like Amatic SC. I would switch it up to Andica New Basic, which should be available to you. Something that's like kind of looks more like handwriting and is easier to read. When you go to make a slideshow, if you're in your Google Drive, the way you go about that is new, and you scroll down to Google Slides, and then you can go blank, which will just give you a white like a template with no design, or you can go from a template. And you can pick something that you like the look of. I think this is the one I use, but unfortunately it was all those all caps font, but you can change it too. So like say I like the look of this lookbook. So I'll click that and change it up. You can change the font in the whole template if you like. And so the way you go about that is view theme builder. And I don't know if this is getting too in the weeds for you guys, but just to give you an idea how you can make it your own, I can change this theme by highlighting it and again, changing it to a font that's a little easier to read for my viewers and going like that. And then what you have to do is go through each layout of your slide and do that for all of them. I do that when I make class slides for this class. And it takes a second, but when you do it, it just makes it a lot easier for your readers. So, and so anyway, that's how you can change. And then the way you save your changes, you would go through and maybe do all of them, but you just close the theme builder with this little X. And so now you have something that's a little bit more readable. Are there any questions about that? Okay. I'll share my link for that one, and then I'll also quickly show you my summer. I think we kind of went over this, but just briefly. And again, the point of these journals is to be a learning resource for you. If you do want to present it to a group as a learning resource for them, or a representation of the Tlingit language, you do need to have it proofed by an advanced speaker and preferably an elder. That way you're not misrepresenting the language and you're just, a little bit more confident. Oh, this is something I'm sharing that I'm intend for people to learn from rather than just be my own. Like these drafts, I would both call them drafts and be like, this is my own learning resource. It's not a tool for learning Tlingit. But you can play around. Like when I lived in Juneau, my favorite thing was going for walks in the woods. I couldn't believe how close you could be to trails and just like be in paradise. And so when the S'eek started budding, I would take photos and just say, again, keep it really simple. S'eek chosatin. I saw S'eek. And then this would be like by this point, I was in advanced Tlingit. I was connecting ideas. So I said, Dach kilachich in kawanik, kayane wa kagushia kundaginio, it's sahai. So this was pretty straightforward. This is one idea Dach kilach shared with me. And then this is kind of a reach. This next part is a reach for me. So I had learned this pattern. When you want to make a subordinative clause, you can add a suffix and add owa to make it mean when the shoots are as big as a person's thumb. But I had just learned that from Tóoch, James Crippen, and I wanted to use it. So this is kind of a good format for that. You learn a grammatical concept, you apply it in your self-expression, add a photo so that people can say, oh yeah, it looks about as big as a man's thumb. And I would maybe harvest that. So any questions on that? Do any of you feel at this point like you might be interested in doing a photo journal?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing some head nods. So
Yes, should have saw one.
yeah. So let's go back. I'll share these. I'll share the link to this one. to keep it really simple, you could even, let's see, let me just do this. So share. So anyone with the link is a viewer, and I'll copy the link. And so I'll let you all work on, you can make your own if you want. If you want, you could take this link I'm dropping in the chat and open it up. It'll let you view mine. And then if you want to just make a copy for yourself, you can open it up, and what you'll do is go File, make a copy, entire presentation, and then you could rename it to what you want. So maybe you could put your name and then Lingít journal and then whatever, right? When are we right now? It feels like it's Tóoch ite, what year? 2023. And then put it wherever you want. Let me find. I'm just going to make a copy in this groups folder. Okay, this is good enough. Select. So then you make a copy. And now you have your own copy that you should be able to edit in your Google Drive, if that's the avenue you want to use. And then you can just go through, like you can delete a photo and add your own. You can change your text here, you can change your English translation, but I do recommend going with like a nice big readable text for Lingít and then making it smaller for English. The purpose of the English translation is so that when you're sharing it with me, I know what you're going for and I can spot, okay, like for example, if you are missing a word and you just wrote Khosatin, but your English, I meant to say I saw S'eek. Okay, now I know what you're missing. So that's where the English helps. This is meant to be like a method of communication between me and you to uplift your self-expression journey. So going back to our conversation around the personal project, other ideas that you could do are a transcription project, as we mentioned. And I would just keep a transcription project very open. You could start with one recording and then switch. You could keep a journal of your own transcription journey. And the way I would go about that is to just make a heading. So for our class, we have transcription practice. This is our shared document. If I wanted to make a copy of this for my own personal project, I would do the same thing, go File, make a copy, change it maybe to personal project, and then dash transcription project practice, make a copy. So now I have my own private editable document that I could use. And the format for transcription as you're starting out, I do like to have a heading for it that has maybe a link to the video that I'm working on. Also, the name of the recording. So the name of this recording on YouTube is Advanced Lingít Shanach Dísi Jinkat Kadak Unyagi 2022. And then I put a comma and then I put the speaker's name, René Lance Twitchell. Actually, usually I put their clan name too because did I spell that right? Let me see. I think it's S'eek. Oh yeah, Tóoch adi. Where am I? Oh, here we go. Tóoch adi. And so then you can kind of make your table and then like keep notes or questions you have at the bottom. And then maybe next week you're like, I want to do a different one. So you can make a new heading and put your new recording name. And then add your new table, insert table. And you can, start your new project here. I do recommend putting Lingít on the left and then English on the right. Okay, I have a lot of things open. I'm gonna close them. Not that one. Yeah, these are all good.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So if we're doing a transcription, you want us to just do our best, not consult with you and have it correct? We'll just show our learning along the way, or you want it to be correct?
Yeah.
I guess I'm a little confused there.
Yeah, thank you for asking. That's good clarity to have. So as you're working on it during the week in between our meetings, I want you to just do your best. Mistakes are fine. And then when you check in with me, that's where I want us to clear up some of those mistakes. That's where I can come in and say, oh, that's good, but let's check the spelling, or this is what I'm hearing. This is a way you could find that. And then if you don't want it shared publicly in front of everybody in class, you can also email it to me and I can review it and mail it back to you. Yeah, and also that brings up a good point. When I was a beginner, I started by doing what I could. When I started out, I was not writing word for word the way we did as a group. The reason we expanded to writing word for word, for example, in what we were listening to, is that as a group, we have 15 people here or something. 19 people. As a group of 19 people, we were able to put our heads together and get to that level because we had all these different, that's like 40 ears. And we were able to hear, I heard this, I heard that. And that's why we were able to put them together. But when I started working on this on my own, I still had Lingít on the left, English on the right. And then actually I would just do one word. And this was more of a list. And actually I was doing it on a paper notebook because we were in person. But I would hear oh, I heard him say Lichéesh. And then I heard him say something like, oh, I think I heard him say that phrase that we learned, but I don't remember how to spell it. I'm just going to do my best. Something like that. And okay, and I'm doing this as I'm listening, so I might just have more of a list, and I might have words that don't even have a lot of meaning on their own, but I'm just, he might have 6 words between ade and so, but I'm just making a list. And so that's a really good place to start when you're just beginning. And then, as I mentioned, so you go through your list, and then after you hit pause, after 20 seconds or 30 seconds, then that's when I recommend going through and checking your spelling. You're like, okay, I know I heard this word from Lingít. I'm going to go look at it really quick because I know right where to find it. Okay, it's Lichéesh uaha. So this is underline X. This is high tone E. I missed the yan. Ooh, uaha. This was short. This was long and high. Lichéesh uaha. Uaha. And so when you start to make that process where you're checking your spelling, then you're making connections between what you heard and what are actual words. And then you can listen again. Oh yeah, that was a deep, gravelly underline X. It just does a lot for your listening comprehension when you actively engage with the recordings this way. I always forget to preload YouTube. I won't open it now, but I'll share with you some links for YouTube videos that I recommend. I just don't want to hit you with ads right now, but I do recommend going to Rene's channel. You can find like in his playlist. He has fluent Tlingit elders. I recommend his class recordings because Rene speaks in a way that is accessible to beginning learners. Like for me, I grew up in English, and so the way he speaks, his word choice tends to line up with things you can find in the dictionary and the phrase book. The way his pronunciation is like he includes all the sounds, whereas fluent elders, anytime you're getting fluent in a language, you start to skip sounds. You don't even know that you're doing it. But Kone speaks in a way that lines up where you can look up what he's saying and sound it out. So for a beginner, that's a good starting point. But also, don't worry too much about which recording you pick if you want to do a transcription project, because it's all good. I would view it as like anything that goes into my ears and I learn something from is good. Don't worry too much about picking the right one to be perfect. And your personal project can change over time. So the whole goal is just to have you working on something, actively learning outside of class if you're able to accommodate it. Other ideas for the personal project could be an illustration with captions. We've done that before, where we just drew comics and then captioned them. I did one about my parakeets. I have 2 birds. It was a COVID thing, but I'll like kind of document their antics and just like say what I think they would be saying if they were talking in Tlingit. Writing a personalized speech is a good one. When I was in beginning or intermediate, I went to Rene during his office hours to say, hey, sometimes we meet with elders and like there's things I know culturally that I want to say so that they know who I am, why am I in Tlingit land, why am I studying Tlingit, so that it's not awkward, so they know why I'm here and a little bit about me. How do I say those things? And so I wrote out to the best of my ability, and he ended up editing my speech, and I memorized it so that I went to a group. I could say, I would say, I'm child of the Gunana, but since I live on Tlingit land now, that's why I want to learn Tlingit. And so then they would kind of be like, oh, okay, that's why I don't know whose kid that is. and then we could talk to each other. And so writing a personalized speech is also a good one. Just keeping it really simple, like 1 thought per sentence. Another avenue that takes more involvement, which is a good thing with the community, is studying a recorded speech. And so I did this when I took native oratory with Lichéesh Lyle James at UAS. And he wanted us to incorporate the elements of native oratory, connecting with your audience, projecting your voice, speaking clearly. And I connected that with my goal of wanting to improve my fluency in Tlingit. So I studied recorded speech. It was the 1968 speech for removal of grief by Not Tla, Jessie Dalton. She's Ductaine Han. And since I'm not Ductaine Han, I can't just like study one of their speeches by one of their biggest, most important people and then go present it at, like all willy-nilly as I feel. So he connected me with Ken Grant and shared with him my intentions. And then Ken Grant gave me permission to share the speech at the Native Oratory Showcase on the condition that since the speech was important to them, that I was connecting it with something that was really important to me. So it was about native language revitalization. And he's like, yeah, that's cool. And then I gave him a gift when we met up at a celebration. But this takes more, you have to include respect. You have to reach out to the clan. And so you need to understand that if you're studying a speech, that speech belongs to the clan. And you need to have a relationship. So, but it's a great way to learn. Like when I studied Not Tla's words, I learned a lot about the purpose of giving a speech in native oratory and what she was doing to uplift her opposites. So that was a really good project for me, but just let me know if that's something. Do any of these ideas kind of reach out to anyone at this time? Or are you starting to think of what you might want to do? Do you have any questions for me in terms of like what you'll need to get started? Okay. There's no deadlines for this. We're together. Awesome. Someone wants to do the photo journal. We're together until May, end of May. I think May 26th might be our last class. So we have time. I don't want you to feel pressured about this. It's just like something to help you to make use of your time so that you're connecting with your goals. Any questions about that? Oh, let's see. I was going to do a show and tell using slides. So kind of like a photo journal. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, if you want to do that, if you have photos and slides, you could do that. That way we can see what you're reading and we can see the meaning. And then also if you want to practice pronunciation, we can practice together. Okay, good. I'm glad it was helpful to see the examples. I know I kept saying, do your personal project. And then after class last week, I was like, oh, I need to answer some questions about this. So I'm glad this was helpful. Okay, we have, excuse me, photo journal and possibly learn how to introduce myself and Lingít. Awesome. Okay. I'm going to put my email in the chat. And if you start to come up with your idea and you want to share it with me, go ahead and just shoot me an email with your topic and your idea. And then also just if you have any questions. You don't have to have questions when you email me. You don't have to present me with any of your work yet. You can just kind of let me know, hey, this is what I'll be working on. Excuse me. Okay, couple minutes left. Any more questions about the project? If not, we're gonna check out the Beginning Lingít Workbook for just a couple minutes here. So last term, we went through the Beginning Lingít Workbook chapter 1A, and we left off on page 40. And so for folks who are just joined this term, no pressure. We're going through this book cover to cover because it's so good. It's so full of good information, but that doesn't mean that it's, inaccessible to you if you didn't read, the 39 previous pages. So, this is where we're at now. We'll just go through these basic conversational phrases. So I love this cute little emoji walking toward the hand. It's like to let you know when someone's coming toward you, you're greeting each other. Walking away from the hand is saying goodbye, kind of. So when you see somebody, you say, "It's good to see you." So repeat after me. Lichéesh satini. Yeah. And that first K in Lichéesh is pinched. So let's do just Lichéesh. Repeat after me. Lichéesh. Yeah, it kind of snaps. Yeah, Lichéesh. Lichéesh. And then Ichsatini. Yeah. Yeah, that sounded good. So this ichsa. So you have this W after the underline X, and what that does is round your underline X. So you don't have to add another vowel. All you're doing is rounding your lips. Yeah, ichsatini. Yeah. Yeah, that sounded good. Yeah, let's do the whole phrase one more time. Lichéesh satini. Mm-hmm. Let's do just this first part. Ichsa. Yeah, that sounded good. One more time. Ichsa. Yeah. And then one more time, the whole phrase. Lichéesh satini. There you go. And then you could say, "Is that you? What aqua?" This what means you. Like if I look at you, I'm seeing you as a being in front of me. I would say what. So repeat after me. What? And then aqua. Yeah, aqua means like is that? What aqua? Yeah. Yeah. If y'all are at a 3-day language gathering or you see each other in the morning, you could even say this at work. One thing you might say is it has dawned on us again. That's kind of a way of acknowledging that it's morning and we're seeing each other. So the whole line is Tóoch. You can repeat after me. Tóoch ka kewa'a. Yeah, and that underlying K is in the back of your throat. Ka. So yeah, repeat after me. Kewa'a. Kewa'a. And then let's add the ka. Oops. Let's add the ka. It's not a pinched K. It still will flow right into the EI, but you're just kind of down here. Yeah, kewa. Yeah. Whereas the ka in front of it is it's not an underline. So it's repeat just these two words. Ka kewa.
Kewa.
Mm-hmm. And then the whole thing. Suhaka kewa.
Suhaka kewa.
Some speakers, instead of an EI, they turn to an EE. So instead of kewa, it's kiwa. So let's, yeah. Kiwa. Everyone just say this part, kiwa.
Kewa.
The whole line with this variation, the whole line of this variation will go Suhaka kiwa.
Suhaka kewa.
Yeah. And then when you're saying goodbye to one person, you say Suye ikwasatin.
Suye ikwasatin.
Yeah. Since you have two Ks together here, you actually pronounce them both. So you'll have ikwasatin. So let's repeat that, just that part. Ikwasatin.
Ikwasatin.
And then the whole line, Suye ikwasatin.
Suye ikwasatin.
Yeah. And then if you're just saying we'll see each other again, Ye wush gachtustin.
Yewushkachtustin.
Yeah. So we'll end on that note. Thank you, Gunalchish Yejane Yuhan, Gunalchish Hadi. Thank you for your work. And Suye Ikwasatin.
Suye ikwasatin. I have one really quick question. I recently got an email and someone put a glottal stop in Gunalchish, and I've never seen that before.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever seen that?
No, I don't hear a glottal stop in Gunalchish, but sometimes what will happen is like people will put, since Gunalchish has a high tone. Oops. I've seen, like, sometimes when people are just learning, they don't remember. I know it has some kind of funky mark, is generally where you'll be thinking if you're not sure. And so sometimes that will kind of accidentally get replaced with like a pinch, or maybe they did Gunalchish. Was it like this? Yeah. Gunalchish. Yeah, I don't spell it that way, but if I was reading it, I would say Gunalchish. I don't know. Yeah.
But it's correct not to put a glottal stop, I guess is my question.
Yeah, I would spell it like this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gunalchish.
Yeah. Good question.
Lichéesh.
All right, I'll see you all. Tóoch.